y'all. How y'all doing? Happy Tuesday. Terrific Tuesday, right? I always get confused if it's Thankful Tuesday or if it's Terrific Tuesday. I hope you guys can see me. Come on in and say hi so I can know y'all here. You already know how we do. I hope your day was amazing. Come on in so we can get this party started. Um, hold on. Um, I'm just sharing to my other page. So y'all come on here as I'm sharing. Won't y'all share? And let me know y'all here. Y'all already know how we get down. Y'all already know how we do, and we can get this going. Because let me tell y'all something. The way today's going, I am not going to be on here before you long, but I do want to get this party started. So, plus, I want to know how did you were any of you guys on Thursday? Come on. Tell me, y'all gonna tell me that was good, not good. It was amazing. I was so excited that it went so well. That was week one. I had Deborah on, and I told y'all it was gonna be good, and it was just gems dropped all over. I was so first off, Deborah, if you're on here, thank you so much again for coming on. But I'm just so excited that I was able to get somebody that could come on and be transparent about their situation and about their recognizing, the certain parts of their relationships, if it was indeed considered healthy or wasn't. And then when you understand, y'all, okay, I'm sorry. Y'all see this earring thing? Okay, so I'm sorry. This is a little ghetto. But the way that was working, I was about to snatch all of it out. Okay? All right. It's okay. Um, y'all listen, y'all already know how
Hey y'all. Okay, I am so sorry. I have never had this problem before. My internet just went out, like completely out. I am like cringing over here. Like I can't even really believe that, but I guess with technology you could possibly have those issues. Yeah, this one is a little bit crazy. So, hey JC, I don't even know if I have anybody on here anymore. That's okay. I'm gonna still do this. Listen, it ain't about to stop because these technology problems. I'm not even gonna stress over it. Anyway, I was recapping last week on Thursday when I had Deborah on, and I was just excited about this whole series about healthy relationships. I don't know what's up. I don't know what happened, but we're not gonna stress over that. So if you saw what my topic was, I wanted to do a topic on friendships, right? And the reason why is because when we talk about relationships, we know we have romantic relationships, we have friendships, we have career, business relationships, we have church relationships. We have associates. We just have all different type of relationships, child, parent, parent, child, all of those different things. And so, um, as a woman, and we just celebrated International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day to everybody. From me to you, because y'all know y'all rock and y'all know how I feel about y'all. But I think relate friendships are extremely important, right? We always hear that joke, no new friends, no new friends. And I always believe that that comes from a hurt place. So I wanted to talk about what um, one of the most important things. I look back to friendships I've had, and let me tell you something. Some of the worst breakups I've ever had, some of the harshest uh, um, things to recover from have been good friendships with women, good friendships. Um, Not just even with women, but just good friendship, period. But definitely with women, because they become almost like your sisters, your confidants. Um, hey, Patricia. Hey, Kelly. Sorry, guys, I was having some technical difficulties earlier, but they become really very super close to you, and it becomes important to maintain those relationships. Well, on top of that, um, you also some of the I think some of us don't realize how important it is. As we get older, I hear people say, well, the older you get, you start to realize how people are really not there for you. You start to realize that you don't really have anybody but you. And again, I think that comes from a hurt place. It comes from a super hurt place. And so on Thursday, I have Lynn come on. She's been on before, and we're going to talk about what healthy friendships and what to do. That's going to be super awesome. But like, as a precursor to that, today I wanted to talk about: are you a good friend? Okay, it's super easy. It's super useful for us to talk about friendships as a whole. But what does a good friend look like, and how do you know that you're one? Now listen, I know what you're saying. You like, Paris, stop, you tripping. I know I'm a good friend. I do this, and that. Yeah, I get it. I get it. We all believe that. Um, but I'm here to give it another, like, I want to give some definition to it. I want to be able to approach it with the level of um analytics that make you think about it. It's nothing wrong. Maybe you are an amazing friend, but maybe you're not. Or maybe somebody has accused you of not being a good friend. Or maybe it's not black and white like that. Maybe um, being a good friend, maybe you are a good friend, but you have moments where you have not been good. Or you're just human. Okay. And you've let some people down before. You've let somebody down. You've not been there. You've not been considerate. Um, the moment that you realize that that could possibly be you is the moment you can grow. If you sitting here like, Paris, I've always been a great friend to every single one of my friends, then and y'all know I'm gonna just tell it how a TI is, so I really don't care. You're delusional. If you think you've always 100% been a great friend and have never let anybody down, you're delusional. You know why? because everybody's situation and perception is different, right? Um, Now, I'm not to say that you are, that you're not, that you haven't meant to be a good friend. Hey, mom, I'm not saying that you didn't, that you didn't set out to be one. I'm saying that it's very possible in your setting to have good intentions to be a good friend, that you have offended somebody, that you've not been there for them, that you've not necessarily been trustworthy to their standards, and that you've let them down on some level. Now, you know how I feel. I believe that um, everybody sees through a certain filter. So it's not so even if you um, have done everything that you know to do that's well, and that person's looking out of a trauma filter, their filter is, they see everything in a tainted light, then it's possible that, it's nothing you can do to be there. But I'm here to talk about how you can be sure that you're showing up in the friendship like you want to represent. Okay. Okay. So, one of the first things I want to talk about is when you have a friendship, it's not about you. I know that hurts. That stings. I'm coming in fast. It's not about you. I know first people, I used to think, well, my friend, it was very possessive. My friend, this my, I mean, me and my friend do this, and how I wanted to be. And I really did think it was like I took a lane of ownership there. I was proud. It's my friend. You don't get to say something and don't put BF on it, or don't put best friend on it, because it's my best friend and I have these certain rights, and you don't step in here with me and my best friend. It becomes this idea that I kind of own this relationship. And while there is a level and a small layer of that that's true, the bigger piece is that it's not about you in the grand scheme of things. When you're in a relationship, there is a give and take. There's a give and take. And if you want a healthy relationship, there's something that you should be getting, but there's also a big level that you should be giving. If you're in a friendship and all your friends cater to you all the time, they're always only doing stuff for you, and if you think about it, you're really not really reciprocating, then you might want to reconsider if you really consider that a friend. um and again, I'm not talking about the other person, I'm speaking about us, because in order for us to secure and evaluate real relationships, the first thing we have to do is look at ourselves, right? Self-awareness, right? I am not going to I think it's super easy to say what people haven't done for us when you don't first look at what you've done, right? And I think that's why I wanted to address this first before we even get into Thursday, because oftentimes we don't realize our flaws. We're ready to cut somebody off, we're ready to do something new, and we don't realize that we too have issues. And there are ways to better, I don't want to use the word, identify these issues, so you can either decide to be better, or maybe you'll say, hey, you know what, you're right, I'm not being a great friend, and maybe there's a reason for that, and look deeper into that. So that's the first thing. It's not all about you. There's a reciprocating relationship here. There has to be give and take. If you're the person that's always giving, if somebody's always calling you, if they're always, giving you stuff, if they're always checking on you, if they're always, setting things up to meet with you, then you got to look at it and figure out, what is that about? Do you really want to be in a friendship with this person? Or are you a selfish person? I know people don't like that selfish word, but let's be clear, we've all been selfish at some points in our lives. It's the understanding of, is are you in a moment where you are being selfish? And if so, should you continue with this relationship? And can you change? And is it just with this relationship, or is this all relationships? These are good questions you need to ask yourself, and be courageous enough to take to the table. Let's see. Pat, you said I had to learn how to be a friend. It took for my best friend to show me what it was like to be a friend. That's so good. That's really good. I think a lot of people are not humble enough to realize that they might not know what it looks like. Come on, let's be honest. Just like you don't always know what relationships look like, because depending on what you see growing up or what you see around you doesn't mean that that was a healthy relationship. And so, just because that's what you see doesn't mean that's what you should reciprocate, or that's what you should like duplicate. Same thing with a friendship. How often is it that we might not know really what a good friendship looks like in and out, and therefore we think we know, we do what we think we see everybody else do, but it's not, it might not be right. And until you um sit down and think about what these components are, you might not know. And it's not like that you're the worst person because you don't know, but it's like ignorance is not bliss. Just because you don't know, at some point that stops being a good excuse. Okay. When you're young and you're growing, that's fine. But at some point, you have to come to a point and say, you know what, am I doing this right? And if you don't know if you're doing it right, to get around people that you trust, that you see that demonstrate good relationships or what you think are good relationships. And let's go a step further. Y'all know how I feel. Get an unbiased opinion. That's why I love therapy, because you can go to somebody and talk with them and just make sure that how you're thinking about this is correct, and that the experiences of your past are not tainting how you show up. Okay. Sometimes you don't even realize, what if you had a traumatic experience and you have a lot of trust issues. You are most than likely bringing those trust issues not only to your romantic relationships, you're bringing them to your friendships. And so guess what you might be unintentionally doing? You might be unintentionally pushing somebody away every time they get close. You might not be sharing with a person every time they get close because you're hurt and you are not healed. And then guess what? That person might feel like, you know what, I'm not feeling like really a part of this relationship. I'm sharing, you're never sharing with me. And they might get to a point where they're like, you know what, I don't feel like you're in it like I'm in it. You don't want that to happen. So it's very important for us to start realizing what a healthy relationship looks like, and make and or realizing when we're not always operating the most healthy. So it's so good that you said that, Mama Pat, about the having somebody to show you how to be a good friend. Sometimes you don't even know that you're not really operating like that until you see what a good one is looking like. And sometimes you think about it, depending on where you're at in your life, you might be defensive about that, right? You might be like, oh, they doing too much. Oh, I wouldn't even do that for my friend. That's crazy. That's obsessive. They doing too much. I would never do that for somebody. And you don't realize that it's because you've not been in good or positive or healthy relationships. And you don't realize that that's completely normal to have that level of unconditional love. And speaking of love, let's bring that up. One of the hardest things I think for people to honestly, a component to think about if you're in a healthy relationship is being a person that loves somebody unconditionally. Now you think, in Paris, why are we talking about love in a friendship? Because if you're not talking about love in a friendship, then I'm sorry, you probably are not in a good, healthy friendship. Um, every relationship requires a level of unconditional love. And I think we throw that word around so casually. However, I think it's necessary. And um, if I had to define it for us at a very basic level, I think it's just deeply caring for somebody and then their well-being, and then that not being based on any conditions. Okay. And you're thinking, well, what do you mean? I'm gonna give some harsh examples. Your birthday came up, and your friend end up having to go to somebody else's wedding on the same day, and they just found out about it, and it's your party, and you want to, this is your, this is what they do. They come to your party and they tell you, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to go to, my family member's wedding. I know I'm always there for your birthday, and they always there for your birthday, and they can't show up this one time. You could be disappointed about that, and you have every right to be disappointed, especially if that's your ride or die. That's somebody that you really, are used to hanging out with. Y'all have plans. But if you know this person is like committed to you for the most part, and something really is important, like something was really important that you know they need to show up and be there, and it's important to them, if you hold that against that person and push away from that person because they don't show up, then you are not portraying unconditional love. And I know that's hard for some of you guys to hear because you're thinking, well, I can be, that's not, no, that's, she's my friend. And, maybe they just came into her life. They wouldn't have told her at the last minute. None of that matters. If you don't give her grace because she has something else to do and it's all about you, then you're not being a friend that's loving somebody unconditionally. That means there are conditions. That means you place conditions on your friendship. That means as long as you do this, I'll hold you at a close level. Let me be clear. You can have conditions on your friendship, but there should be a form of unconditional love. And I mean, to give another level of this, it's also without judgment, right? Um, One of the harshest things that I think I see so often is that we are judgmental people, and in the most hypocritical way possible. And I said we because that includes me. Y'all know I'm going to be real. I'm going to speak about me because I think that until we are honest about it, until we're honest about it, we've all been conditional lovers. We have all been judgmental towards someone else, even people that we love. We've all been hypocritical. And that was hard for me to understand and accept for a while because I used to think I was such a good friend. I'm such an amazing friend. I give all my all to my friends. I love them. I'm thoughtful. I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. And what you start to realize is that becomes a prideful thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like you want to be perceived as this good friend. And there might also be some honest effort there, but we all miss the mark. And the difference is accepting that you missed the mark and saying, okay, what about, instead of me being defensive when someone says I didn't show up for them, instead of me being defensive when someone says I judged them, instead of me being defensive when someone says that I put conditions on how they show up in my life, um, maybe I need to be able to hear that I did these things and accept them, really look at why I did it, and I analyze where that behavior is coming from. Because if I didn't mean to do it, it's one thing when you do something more. A lot of times you do it over and over again. Sometimes that's deep rooted, but sometimes you do things you don't even realize you're doing. And if you have good friends and vocal, honest friends, they're going to tell you. And the good part about that is that you have an opportunity to do better. You have an opportunity to do better. Yeah, Patricia, you said that's so good. As long as you have your way. So many times people are good with you as long as you're doing what they would need you to do, as long as you're showing up how they want you to show up, when they want you to show up. The minute that you're not available, the minute you're not doing it how they want you to do, the minute that you're not, that stuff changes. The minute that here's another thing that they don't have access to you like they used to. That's a big one. The minute they don't have access to you like they used to, it becomes a problem. And, uh, we have to be honest about our side of that. I think we have been in so many friendships, and we don't realize that we we are humans and we are flawed and we make mistakes and we do things that wrong. The best thing you can do, especially if you are in a healthy friendship, is to realize when you've done something wrong, or even consider it and not offend, not immediately become defensive. I think our first thought is to defend. Our first thought is to defend. And I think so times we spend so much time not wanting to be wrong that um we're not really looking at and investigating if there's any validity to what's being said, right? And when you don't pay attention if is there any truth into it, you are not only doing them a disservice, you're not only doing your relationship a disservice, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because even if that relationship dissolves and for some reason you're okay with that, trust me, if you showed up like that in that relationship, you're going to show up in other relationships like it, because you never fixed it. And all you're doing is interchanging the players in the game. You're not really fixing the problem. So just because you replace somebody, if you didn't fix the initial problem, it's going to happen again. It is going to happen again. And sometimes people call it cycles. Sometimes there are different cycles, but I'm telling you, this is just, if you have an issue that you have not dealt with and you don't know why it's there, you haven't really put any thought into how you're acting. Even if you in that relationship, if you don't go ahead and resolve why you're doing that, you will do it again to someone else, and there's going to be a different reaction or a different consequence, because everybody's different. It's going to play out different, right? And I want us to really think about this, because I think we out here leaving bodies out here because we are not healed. We are not knowing that maybe we have not ever done relationship right. Listen, guys, it's okay if you don't really know how to do it right. We are in a generation, and this is not first generation no thing. I think this is coming from generations and generations upon things. We're such a proud people, and we want to always be looked at as we have it together and we always know what to do. We always know what to say. Um, I suffered from that for a long time. I used to, kind of boast in the fact that I'm intelligent, I'm thoughtful, I have an emotional intelligence, all those things. And I felt like, because I felt like I was intentional about a lot of things, I did not acknowledge that even in me being intentional, I can unintentionally hurt somebody. I can unintentionally be not as thoughtful. I can unintentionally be a conditional lover. Um, I could have let some of my past trust issues seep into my present situation. Um, I could sometimes allow me being tired not to, I could allow that to supersede my need to be direct. Let me give you an example of that. How many times is it that you're somebody that, if you really care about somebody, you're going to tell them how you feel? Have you ever just been exhausted in a moment, or maybe even in a season in your life where something comes up and you need to speak up and say something about it, but you're just like, I'm just in this moment, I'm too tired to even bring it up. And that could be a real moment for you. But if you never bring it up again, you're actually not helping the situation. You're not helping the relationship. And it's not really being fair to the other person that you're around. Um, Now, maybe that's what you need to do to protect your peace in that moment, but you can't shy away from the hard conversations, the critical conversations. You need to, you have to kind of um, be fair, because you decided to enter into this relationship with a sober mind. And if you did, you need to, you know, make sure that you're communicating and communicating well. I know we talked about last week what are some basic qualities in a good and healthy relationship. And I talked about being a good communicator, being somebody that's trustworthy, being somebody that shows respect, requires it and shows respect, um, and and all, and also being somebody who is not judgmental. These are all things that go into the pot when we're talking about healthy relationships across the board. I want to throw something else in there. I want to say we need to be flexible, right? You need to understand, like, I know I talked about the unconditional love, that's a real thing, but then I believe you also need to be honest about accessibility. And I think you need to have those type of conversations when you enter a relationship. And maybe have those conversations like up. like to update those things often, right? And I don't know what often is to you, maybe once a year, because we grow. Let me tell y'all something. We are ever evolving people. We do not just um I'm not the same person I was when I was 19. I'm not the same person I was when I was 25. Okay, let me help y'all out now. I'm 30 now. I'll be 40 in August. Whoop, whoop. I'll count down. Oh. Um, so if I'm almost 40, I'm not the same person I was at 30. I'm not the same person I was at 35. Y'all get where I'm going here. I'm not the same person, particularly because a lot of things is going on in my life. I'm not the same person I was at 38. And if you're really dealing with me on a close level, you know I'm not the same person I was at 30 6 months ago. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I am growing at such a level. I'm not the same person. Now, some people will make you feel bad about that. You changed. Oh my God, you changed. You're not the same person I know. And depending on what they're talking about, that can be a good or bad thing. But I seem to believe it's always good. I tend to respond to that as, no, I did change, but you also changed. Or if you're not changing, we got to look at why you're not changing, because really the only thing that's constant in life is change, right? That's the only thing that's constant. We should always be growing and evolving. We always are supposed to grow and evolve. And if you find yourself where that's offensive to you in this friendship, then we have a problem. Mama Patchy says some people cannot handle change. That is something I find is a huge issue. And that's why I said I think another good component of a good, healthy friendship is flexibility to accessibility. Flexibility to accessibility. The reality is that we are all growing. And let's say you had a friend and we 30-year friends. The only way that those friendships usually last, there's a level of um, adjustment that is happening, a healthy adjustment that happens when you have people that say, hey, we were this at this age and now we learn to grow and adjust, and we're growing at different levels, but we're able to kind of recalibrate with each other and adjust to what each other is going through and to the stages in life. Maybe when I met you, we were both in college, or maybe one was in college and one wasn't in college, and maybe you had kids and I didn't have kids, or whatever, however it happens. um Mature relationships and two people that are in a really good healthy relationship they should be able to say, wow, this is where we're at, and um this is where we're at, and hey, let's adjust to this. Maybe I was able to see you 3 times a week when I wasn't married and then having kids, but now these things are changing. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it goes down to once a month. Heck, depending on where we're at, maybe I move and I'm not able to see you once a year. Maybe the phone calls used to be 2 times a week, maybe the phone calls go to once every month. You have to be open to these changes, and mature and healthy relationships are able to handle those type of changes, and without accusing somebody of not loving them, caring for them, or wanting to be involved in it, right? Hey Amanda, how are you, girl? um yeah, you know what, the flexibility to accessibility, I think that is something that, I don't know, I think God just gave me those words, because I feel like that's real. you know Everybody's not going to be as accessible to me as they once were at a certain point in my life, and vice versa. I'm not as accessible to them. But the difference is, if we're in a healthy, mature relationship, we should be able to be there without the mudslinging. We should be able to be there and still care about each other and have understanding to the situations changing. Listen, y'all, I got some busy friends. Do you hear me? I got some friends that are all in different stages of their lives and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm busy. Anybody that's in my life right now has to understand that. And if they don't, I'm not mad at them for not understanding it. But in order for them to be able to roll and not be offended, there has to be a conversation. And if things are changing, so maybe I had more time at one point. And that's, most likely it happens often, right? We change our responsibilities, we change our different things that we're required to do. It's all these different things that we have that affect how we move. But in my opinion, once you have the conversation about, hey, these are the things that's going on in my life, what's going on in your life, um, let's make sure that we keep connected. And what does connected look like to you? And what does connected look like to me? And let's find a happy medium, because it's not always the same. Like maybe I'm the type of person where I'm okay with us talking once a month or whatever. And maybe you're the type of person where if I don't talk to you a couple times a week, I don't feel like we're connecting. Well, we need to find a happy medium there, right? Because if we start making putting rules on when we think, like if I start to say that if you don't give me X amount of time periods, then you don't care about me, then we're measuring this all wrong, in my opinion. I happen to favor a quality over quantities situation. I happen to favor that. And history usually works well with that. Um, if you could be with somebody all day, and if it's not a quality time that you're spending with that person, it could be fruitless. And I could be with somebody, I can only see them twice a year, but when we get together, we have amazing, like, deep conversations, and I could feel more connected to them than I do the person I'm with all the time. Why? What's the difference? It's the quality over the quantity. It is the quality over the quantity. So think about those things. And you have to be on the same page with this. So it's not going to always be easy, guys, but it's something to think about, right? Patricia, you said we should be able to be vulnerable and not afraid to expose their heart. Now, listen, that's good. I think that is really hard for a lot of people to hear, because if someone's ever been hurt, and especially if they're not healed from that hurt, or if they thought they were healed and they're in a defensive like state, like sometimes you might heal, or you think that you're over a certain situation, and you don't realize that you put up defense mechanisms so that you won't get hurt again. Then what happens is that you might, well, I'll give you an example. I know I have in the past, um, right after a really painful relationship, I've gotten, or I tried to, let me tell you this, I'm real bad at this. I have tried to, like, limit the information I share, and to protect myself, right? To protect myself is like being in the point where if I don't tell them this, if I don't really share all of me, they won't hurt me, they won't betray me. And unfortunately, that don't work for me. If you my friend and we sit down long enough, you're gonna hear it. My heart is gonna spill out. Um, and so, but I've seen people do that, where they are literally saying, I don't want to tell you all. And so a lot of times I call those surface relationships, where people do not let you prick the surface of their humanity. They're literally like, you know what? Nah, you don't get to know those things about me. I mean, you can tell me your stuff, but I'm not telling you mine. I'm gonna keep it real simple. We're not gonna talk about relationships because I don't want to hear what you got to say. Y'all know that one, y'all. We ain't gonna even get to that. Y'all know some women you definitely can't talk about relationships at all, because they don't want you saying nothing about their man. They don't want you saying nothing. And I've learned to stay my place about that one. But even if it's not about relationships, it's about whatever. They don't want you to bring up their kids. They don't want you to bring up their parental relationships, their family situations. They don't want you to talk about their career, because they are not ready to be that vulnerable. They don't really want to hear um, objective opinions, and they have that right. But usually, when somebody closes you off that much, that means that they are still in a defensive tone, because they've not really acknowledge that they were not over the hurt from the last time somebody betrayed them. Okay. And so if you're hearing that, you do that sometimes too, knock it off. Y'all heard that quote, it's better to have love and to loss than to not have love at all. People like to debate over that all the time, but the reality is, once you have real love and you've experienced that, you know that it's worth it. Even the risk of it. Yes, you might lose it. Yes, you might be vulnerable. Yes, they might hurt you, But if you've ever had real love, it is worth it. It is worth it every time. You have to risk something great in order to get something great, right? And so you have to heal in order for you to be able to enter the next situation correctly. And we always talk about that with romantic relationships, but it's not only romantic. Friendships are probably the biggest relations. Listen, recovering from some friendships have taken longer than any romantic relationship I've ever had. It's hard. It's hard when you have really just let yourself completely, like when you've been completely free with somebody and open and you've given to a friendship and things go wrong. It's very hard to recover from that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not, but you have to heal, because if you don't heal, you won't properly enter the next one right, especially when it comes along an opportunity for you to have a connection and a really good connection. If you are still bitter, bruised, hurt, and not able to fully engage, you're going to miss out on the fullness and the beautiful complexity. I just came up with that, y'all. Let me tell y'all, God be giving me some words. The beautiful complexity of a full relationship. You are missing out on that if you are not able to fully be vulnerable. And listen, y'all, I told y'all about my fight with vulnerability. Let me tell you something. That vulnerable thing is hard, especially when you feel like you love hard and you've been hurt. It is hard to bare your soul. It is hard to, you feel like you're weak and you really leave yourself open. But let me tell you something. When you can learn to heal and be open like that, man, that payoff is just, it's like none other. It's like none other. To When you open yourself up to that, to people that are trustworthy and really are caring, when you get that type of love back in a friendship, baby, you're gonna realize, okay, this is what it's like. This is what it's like. And let me say this about let me say something about grace and humanness, right? Well, let's talk about human. Like, first of all, nobody's perfect. There's no perfect friendships. I don't care what Instagram tells you. I don't care what Facebook tells you. I don't care what you think you're in. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody's perfect. Somebody's gonna always hurt your feelings. It's impossible for it not to happen. Somebody's gonna be inconsiderate at least once or twice a year. Somebody's gonna forget something. Somebody's going to choose what's their comfortability over what yours is. They're not gonna be selfless in that moment. Listen, people are human. And the faster you realize people are human and stop putting them in this box of perfection that has to happen, sometimes I see people that's waiting for somebody to mess up to drop them. Come on. Come on. It's no perfect relationships. None. None, none, none. No perfect parent child relationships, no perfect friendships, no perfect romantic relationships, no perfect career business relationships. There aren't. You have to learn to forgive and forgive fast. Forgive and forgive fast. And then make decisions about if you are in a healthy relationship. And if it's healthy and they just made a mistake, forgive and forgive fast, and then give grace. Give grace, guys. Listen, let me tell you something. If you are sitting around and you want to be the accuser and always point out every flaw, good luck with that. You're going to be miserable. Hear me well. If you're the type to want to point out every bad thing somebody does, good luck with that. You will be miserable and you'll be by yourself, because if you can't, you have to weigh the pros and cons. I'm not saying be blind to things. I'm saying you weigh the pros and cons. And if you do a pro and con list and the pros outweigh, like greatly outweigh the cons, and maybe the last thing they did really hurt you, you got to learn to go ahead and be honest and direct about your communication with them. Let them know they hurt you. Let them know this is why. And then say, but you know what? This is not enough for me not to want to be in relationship with you. And I want you to know I forgive you. And I know people say, well, why would I have to say that? Or why would somebody want to hear that? You know why? Because if you don't do that and you're offended, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fester and you're going to build resentment. So you have to be super careful about that. We're human, and our minds, the memory, it plays tricks on us. Our emotions rise up, and they blot out any logic. So if your feelings are hurt, it's very possible that you are um, not thinking well, and you will literally potentially forfeit or sabotage a relationship because you don't realize um, that people are human and they make mistakes. Weigh the pros and cons, people. You got to weigh the pros and cons. It's not always going to be, one way to do it. But when you're in a healthy relationship, you got to give grace. You got to give grace. Somebody's going to they're going to forget something. They're not going to do something right. They're going to hurt your feelings. The way that it works is for you to be like, you know what? I didn't like that. And I'm just letting you know, silly. And now, I see you tomorrow. I'm mad at you off the phone before I tell you about yourself. Like, that's okay. That's okay. And maybe they missed something and you don't feel like waiting. They say, I want to see you tomorrow. And you can say, no, I don't want to see you tomorrow. But I'll be okay after the end of this weekend. So I'll call you tomorrow next weekend. And that's okay too. It's okay to be upset or have feelings about something. But don't let those things fester. Don't be quiet about those things. Don't let them sit there. That's why people in marriages, that's why they always say don't go to sleep mad, because it's this idea that, the longer you let something fester, it grows, and things in the dark grow. They grow, and they turn into something really ugly, and they can overgrow everything like fungus. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. This was just some of the things I know. Listen, y'all, we're human. We can make mistakes. Listen, I think I'm an amazing friend, but I know I've made mistakes. I know I've been selfish sometimes. I know I haven't gotten it right all the time. And I know it's been things that I've done that have been hurtful to people. I didn't always see that when I was younger. I didn't necessarily think it was always possible. But listen, you got to forgive. You got to be fast to apologize, be quick to forgive, especially if it's a healthy relationship, and then give grace to not only them but to yourself. Um, and if it's worth it, work at it. A good friendship is always, it requires maintenance. It just does. It requires maintenance and it requires adjustment, you know, flexibility to accessibility. I'm not gonna always be able to talk on the phone with you for 3 hours, but if I give you 30 minutes and we have a good conversation, then I hope that you understand that's where I'm at right now, and then we're good. And then maybe in 6 months we can sit up and talk for 3 4 hours, and vice versa. Maybe I need to talk to you, and I really really need to talk to you, but you got something going on with the kids, or you got something going on with the hubby or whatever. I have to understand that and not be like, she don't never have time for me. She don't never talk. Maybe most times things ain't even about you. People sometimes are fighting and struggling to stay alive. People are fighting anxiety and depression and all type of things. They're trying to stay afloat, and you sitting here getting your feelings because you couldn't tell them about this new guy you talked to. Y'all, we have to do better. We got to give more grace. We got to be kinder. Forgive yourself, forgive them, and learn to mature and be ready to adjust. Life is going to need it. Adjustments are needed. It's not a one-stop shop. It's no one way to do things. But this is just often like you throw some love in, you throw some patience in, you throw some kindness in, you throw some thoughtfulness in, you throw some um, kind gestures, acts of kindness in. You throw all those things in and hope that you are able to maintain something. And then, and guess what? If it doesn't turn out how you think, and if it dissolves, still don't be mad. Just understand that maybe that's just not a season for you all. And be able to say, you know what, yeah, me and this person not in a relationship anymore, but I wish them the best, and be okay with that. Yeah, we got to learn. Even that's a whole nother life, learning how to walk away from something and not, fully dishonor them just because it's ending. But yeah, because you said anything worth having is worth fighting for. That's so real. That's so real. You're gonna have ups and downs, and if you only have ups, then you haven't hit anything yet. It's gonna always be ups and downs, and or oftentimes you might not be, both parties might not be honest with somebody. It's like each other. I've seen people where one person thinks everything's great because the other person's never speaking up. What's good is that if you're not being honest about how you feel? Um, hey Deborah, yeah, listen, sis, this is heavy, but this is where it starts out with. We can talk about friendships in depth, and we're gonna do that on Thursday. But first, are you a good friend? And when you're not, are you okay with being able to say I'm sorry and then moving forward? Or if somebody's doing something you don't like, let's call it out in love, not confrontationally, but still talking about it and dealing with it and keep it moving, giving grace. So I hope this helped, guys. I'm so sorry about this phone situation. My computer literally is not connected. I'm not home right now. But that's a whole other thing. I just think the internet just went out. So I'm on my phone. I hope that y'all can see this. I hope it's not too blotchy. But thank y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking with me like y'all always do. Don't forget to come back on Thursday. It's gonna be fire. You don't want to miss it. Invite somebody. And if you're just coming on, I'm coming off. So go watch the replay. And if you're watching the replay, please type replay on here so I can know. Y'all never do it, but that's okay. It's eventually somebody gonna listen to me about that. Anyway, but yeah, go ahead and watch the replay if you just got on here. Um, let's see, it's Tuesday. Like I said, I'll be on Thursday, and like I always finish up. Here we go. You are enough. You know what? I'm gonna say it every single time because you are. You're enough. You're enough for you to analyze how you show up in these relationships, and you're worthy of good reciprocal relationships that are healthy. So let's figure out how we're showing up and making sure that if we don't do it right, that we are putting the time into bettering ourselves so we can show up and have better quality connections and relationships. All right. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of the evening. Do something nice for yourself. And also, don't forget to check out my website, www.parispjohnson.com. You see my shirt on here that you are enough. And I got the other shirts. Y'all, I still have the emotional courage. That was a unisex shirt. It was not just for the guys. That's on the website. That's a sweatshirt and it's a t-shirt. Come on, guys. I got the sweatshirts like y'all asked for. And then also the other one, the king, that's still there. Somebody that's in your life that you want to give your husband, brother, nephew, lover, spouse, whatever. Grab a sweatshirt, grab a t-shirt. Check out the website. Love you guys. Have a great evening. Okay.